I'm Brent Humphreys, and this is Yelling from the Couch. On this episode, I welcome on my guest from Downtown Rams podcast, Alexis Kraft, as we preview the Super Bowl 56 rematch between the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals. We talk about the key matchups for the Rams and the Bengals. We talk about the Rams' resurgence after last season, the disappointment that they had last season, and what kind of offense they're going to run against the Bengals. So stick around. We'll be back right after this with Alexis Kraft.
At this time, I'd like to welcome in my guest. She is the co-host of Downtown Rams podcast, Alexis Kraft. Welcome into the show, Alexis.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. We're here to preview the Super Bowl 56 rematch. Last season, the Bengals reached the AFC title game while the Rams failed to make the playoffs. This will be the first matchup between the two aside from a preseason game last year. Alexis, what went wrong for the Rams last year? Was it simply Stafford going down with an injury, or were there other factors in this?
Well, I think it started really game one. We lost some key offensive linemen, and then we lost a few more as the weeks went on. And then when you started to see our offensive line, I mean, at one point we had 4 of our 5 starters out. You just saw them breaking down, and then that led to Stafford getting hit more, and then Stafford was hurt, and then Cooper Kupp got hurt, and then we had some defenders hurt. Aaron Donald missed some time. So it was really, I think, in my opinion, it was injuries. I think, yes, we also lost some key players that were around for the Super Bowl, which hurt us. But I think really it was everything that could go wrong went wrong for the Rams last season. So I think this season, now that everybody's healthy, they're looking to bounce back.
So there was a little bit of news earlier in the week from the Rams as they traded running back Cam Akers to the Vikings. Who will replace Cam Akers, and what impact will this have on the Rams this season?
So Kyron Williams came out of the season, started the season, I should say, as the Rams running back one. And he was leading Cam Akers by far in terms of snap count and how much he was out there. And I think that the Rams had a little bit of a problem with Cam Akers last season that they thought they rectified. I think it carried into this season. So I think it was just in the best interest of both parties to move on, especially with the emergence of Kyron Williams, who was a top waiver wire pick since week 1 in fantasy. He's leading the entire NFL in touchdowns right now with 4. In terms of how many an individual player has. So Kyron Williams is running back one, and I think a lot of people are going to learn really quickly that he's a threat and is deserving of the spot.
Now, they tried to trade Cam Akers last season, I believe, before the deadline, I read, and couldn't make a deal. So was it just a rift between him and McVay, I think I was reading? Is that what the issue was with those two?
I think Cam has an issue splitting carries, and in today's NFL, that's something that most running backs have to be open to and have to do. And I think Cam not only had an issue splitting carries when he was, running the football, the majority of the time, he was very inconsistent. He was hot and cold. So I just don't think that the Rams were willing to give him the type of role that he wanted. So I think it was just in the best interest of both of their wants for him to move on.
So Rams, what are the Rams' expectations for coming into this season after such a disappointment last season?
I think they wanted to compete. I think a lot of people thought the Rams were going to try to tank for Caleb Williams, and I was saying all along, and a lot of Rams media people were saying that's not the case. The Rams believe they're going to be competitive in the NFC. They think they have a shot to make the playoffs. Yes, they're young. Yes, they have lost a lot of key players, but they really believe in their young guys and their young core. So I think what they've shown, they beat the Seahawks pretty easily week 1. They could have beaten the 49ers in week 2. They were even with them pretty much up until the fourth quarter. So I think that the Rams have pleasantly surprised a lot of people and have shown that they're here to compete.
They definitely surprised me in week 1. I guess I'd wrote them off after last season, and coming into this, after the Seahawks season they had last year, and then the Rams going in just dominating them in Seattle was a very surprising outcome for me. And then they hung in with San Francisco last week who San Francisco could be one of the best teams in football this year. So they surprised me for sure.
Yeah.
So one of the surprises so far this season, somebody who didn't follow BYU football or the Rams draft, Nacua, the wide receiver. He is second in receiving in the NFL right now after 2 games. Very impressive guy. Tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, so he was kind of a late round steal out of BYU. I really liked him in the draft. I actually had him going to the Rams in a lot of my mock drafts. And he's actually very similar to Cooper Kupp, just in the way that he plays. So it's not surprising that the Rams like him. And, he's proven himself to be a very reliable target. And with Kupp's absence, Kupp is still on IR. Stafford has found a lot of trust with Puka, and we've seen that. That's why he's getting so many targets. That's why their chemistry is so good, and he broke the record for most rookie receptions in the first 2 games. So he's definitely somebody to look out for. I don't see that connection slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, I believe he set a record last week for most receptions by a rookie in a game too, right? In a single game?
Yeah.
With 15? Yeah. Very impressive. Like you said, taking over for an injured Cooper Kupp right now in the spot that's needed for the Rams. What do you think is one of the key matchups for the Rams going into this game against Cincinnati on Monday?
Well, I think that the test is going to be T. Higgins and Jamar Chase against our very young secondary. It's a very inexperienced secondary. So I am a little bit worried when you've got 2 great receivers like Higgins and Chase going up against our guys. I think that's going to be a test. It's going to definitely be a lesson for them too, and good experience. So yeah, I think the key matchup, when you look at the Bengals receivers, is going to be against our young corners, guys like Jacoby Durant and Darion Kendrick. They don't have a lot of experience. They've made some really, really good plays, but Kendrick specifically, kind of struggled last game against the 49ers. So that to me is going to be the matchup to watch, is if the Rams young corners can hang with the Bengals receivers.
That is exactly the matchup that I had wrote down, was the Bengals wide receivers against the Rams secondary. I don't know a whole lot about the Rams secondary aside from the fact that Jalen Ramsey is now in Miami after being in LA last year. So it'd be interesting to see how that matchup will go against the Bengals wide receivers. Are there any other draft picks besides Nacua to look out for the Rams this Monday that have played?
Well, I would say that our offensive line has gotten a big boost from Steve Avila out of TCU. He was our 2nd-round pick in the draft, and he's really made a difference. And his stats are really good so far this year on that offensive line. And I think that definitely allows Matthew Stafford to feel a lot more comfortable and pass the ball more and not get hit. Stafford hasn't gotten hit very much in the first 2 games, so that's a plus. And then I would say Byron Young, who he's number 0. He's an edge rusher for the Rams. He was our 3rd-round pick out of Tennessee, and he's been playing really well so far. The Rams do really struggle in the pass rush, but he's kind of like the bright light there. He's the guy that I think has potential to hopefully turn that around. So I would say those 2 guys.
So last season, I'm a Kentucky football fan. Their offensive coordinator is Liam Cohen. Last season was the Rams OC. Did he struggle last year because of the injuries, or was he just not gelling well with the rest of the team, or was Sean McVay in control, or what happened there with Liam?
I think for whatever reason, his play calling just didn't really match what the Rams had going on. I don't know that he really clicked with Stafford. I don't know that he really, I think him and McVay probably saw the play calling maybe a little bit different. But I also, it also had to be a hard situation because we did lose so many people on offense that he eventually didn't have much to work with. So, I don't blame all of our offensive, struggles on Cohen, but I think the fit might have just been a little off. And he obviously ended up going back to Kentucky Probably has a preferable fit there. So I don't put all the blame on him. I just think for whatever reason, what he was trying to do just didn't work out with the guys that we had on offense.
Yeah, I hate that it didn't work out for him, but it worked out well for Kentucky. We're glad to have him back. And Matt LaFleur, is it Matt or Mike? Mike, right? Is the offensive coordinator now. Is it a better fit with him there, or is it too early to tell?
I definitely think it is a better fit because of the way that he has allowed our running backs, really now Kyren Williams, to be involved in the passing game, and there's a lot more creativity now in our run game. I think Sean McVay's really struggled with since he's been a head coach. It's something that us Rams fans have talked about a lot. There just wasn't a lot of creativity there. There wasn't a lot of like diversity in terms of what he was calling, play calling, and I think LaFleur has really opened that up and given our run game new life, and I think that's made things easier on Stafford. Not all the pressure, is on him every snap. And I think it's been really good for our second-year running back, Kyren Williams, as well. He's been really productive, and I think that also has to do with the run game play calling.
So the Rams, are they going to be looking to pass this Monday coming against the Bengals more with the receivers that they have and Kyren Williams as the running back? I noticed that they don't seem like they've got the running game, off to a good start yet. Are they looking to pass more, or what's the strategy?
Yeah, I think they probably will be looking to pass. I think that's what's been working for them. Obviously, feeding Puka Nacua has worked for them really well. Our run game with Cam Akers out is down to Kyren Williams, and Kyren is a really good runner. But because he's kind of the sole running back right now, I don't know that they're going to want to have him run too much. But he also is a really good receiver. So he does go out there. I think one of the good things about Kyren is when he's out there, it's not a tell. You don't know if they're going to run the ball. You don't know if they're going to pass it. He kind of does everything. So I do think they're going to look to attack the Bengals more in the air than on the ground. I think they're going to probably keep Nacua as their top target, but Tutu Atwell, I think, is also heating up, and I think that Stafford's going to try to target Atwell more this game.
This Monday, the Rams play in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a 3-point favorite, but there is some uncertainty surrounding Joe Burrow and his calf injury. Joe Burrow did practice Friday, however, in a limited capacity. Are there any injuries on the Rams side heading into Monday?
Not that I'm aware of at the moment. I think, thankfully everybody is pretty healthy. We have our guys on, like Cooper Kupp on IR, but there's no new injuries that I'm aware of. I do know Nacua was struggling earlier this week with an injury, I believe a shoulder injury, but it sounds like he's going to be good to go on Monday.
And Kupp is out for the first 4 games. Is he expected to be back after those 4 weeks?
As of now, it sounds like he is. So that's obviously pretty good news that he'll be, as of right now, back week 5. But I do think, if the Rams do pretty well their first 4 games, they might let Cooper take some more time, to recover, just to make sure that he doesn't, re-injure anything. But we would like to have him back, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. In the Super Bowl matchup, he was the Super Bowl MVP, of course. Got to see a first-hand look of how good he was. Like you said, after 4 weeks, I think, do they play, was it Philadelphia? But if Nacua is playing well and they, get off to a 3-1 start, you could have that luxury of not having him come out there and letting him heal even more.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it just depends on how the next 2 games go. It's good. I'm excited for this game. Primetime football is always fun, and it should be a good one.
Yeah, it should be. The Bengals, before they were with Andy Dalton and them, primetime, it wasn't their thing. But since Burrow's rolled into town, they've got a little bit better record. This should be a good one. Like you said, the Rams look like they're back to the way they was the year before, or close to it at least. The Bengals have kind of got off to a rocky start. I think the Bengals, this is a must win for them. You don't want to start 0-3, but at the same time, if Burrow can't go, it's going to be a tough one. So we'll just see how that goes. Alexis,
sure.
if you'd like to, you could plug your stuff here.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at the Alexis Kraft with a K. I'm on there interacting with football fans a lot. That's also where I share my podcast that I do with my co-host Jake, Downtown Rams. And yeah, definitely message me on there, tweet me on there. And we got 3 games. I live tweet the games, so I'll be on there during this matchup.
All right, I appreciate you taking the time to come on here and talk a little Rams-Bengals matchup.
For sure. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you later.
Bye.
My thanks to Alexis Kraft for joining me on the podcast. Go check out Downtown Rams podcast and go check her out on Twitter at the Alexis Kraft. She live blogs the games. She'll be live blogging this Monday between the Rams and the Bengals. Thank her for coming on, and we'll see you all in the next one. Thanks.
Yay!